All right, so today I wanted to talk about this post that I seen from Luke Rudowski, and it's very relevant in times like this, so definitely needs to be talked about. Now, it basically says, I mean, it's with Lisa Simpson. It's a meme saying, if you allow the government to break the law during an emergency, they will create emergencies to break the law. Again, this is this is textbook. You know what? 19 or 20, I guess, or 21 going on. Um, Now, this is the problem. This is the problem when people say, well, I mean, in Canada, I mean, I don't know what exactly the law states in the US, but in Canada, the Constitution or the Charter says, you know, you have all these rights, but if the government declares an emergency, you can take them all away. Now, the problem is that how high does the threshold need to be for the government to take away people's rights? Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a constitutional expert, so I don't know exactly what that is. But what I would say is that if you're going to have, number one, I don't think you should have that provision. I really don't think that you need that provision at all. But if we're going to have that provision, the bar better be set so high that it is not even funny. Like the bar better be set incredibly high. Because again, if the bar isn't set high, then the government will simply create emergencies or allow potential emergencies to get out of hand and simply break the law. And this is the thing that I really can't stand about people that both sides, like the right wing thinks that a lot of the left wing politicians are corrupt and they're beyond the pale, and the left wing thinks that a lot of the right wing politicians are corrupt and beyond the pale. Now, the truth is somewhere in the middle, and the truth is that both sides have their fair share of crazy idiots. Um, I think that the left is a little bit worse, not because I'm biased, but because the fundamental ideology between the average right winger and the average left winger is that the average left winger wants government to be bigger and more powerful. The average right winger wants it to be less bigger and less powerful. So just based off that fact, I think you would have to admit that the left is a little bit worse than the right. But to be fair, you have a lot of right wing politicians that pretend to be this, oh, I love small government, conservative, but yet in reality they're just a globalist shill. Like the Romneys of the world, the Bushes of the world. I mean, I think Andrew Scheer and Aaron O'Toole definitely fall under those categories, at least to some extent. Even Stephen Harper to a degree, even though I think he's better than both of the other two. So again, those are examples of people. Again, they love to get out there and talk about how great. I mean, how great. Oh, I'm this great small government conservative. When in reality, they're really just a globalist shill. But again, that besides, the main point of this being is that this is the problem. Like, this is the problem that again, the point I was trying to get at is that no matter where you're at on the political spectrum, everybody will admit that bad people can easily end up in government. Everybody can, I mean, and all you need to do is study history too. For this is the thing I really can't stand about people these days is you have a lot of people that they just can't fathom. They just can't fathom that someone would be in government with bad intentions, mainly when they're on their side, right? Like because you have a very large percent of the people that think that a World War II German is president right now, and 80 million or almost 80 million people voted for them, but it's completely impossible for someone really bad on the other side to be in power, right? You have the guy that's prime minister right now who really admires a communist dictatorship, but it's completely impossible for bad people to be in government, right? Like, this is the thing that really just boggles my mind, is that how naive people can be to genuinely believe that no bad people can end up in government. And whenever you point these things out, they always say, oh, yeah, it's still the majority are good. Well, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Even if it's a minority, even if it's 10%, which I think the number is significantly higher than that. Um, I think that there's kind of three groups of people when it comes to these scenario. There's the people that genuinely are good, and genuinely speak the truth and are good. There's the people that they're kind of in the middle. They can be swayed either way probably, but because they go along to get along, they're not good in the end. And then there's the people that are genuinely bad. the percentage really doesn't matter. The whole point is that even if it's a small percentage of bad people, most people just go along to get along, meaning that all it takes is the bad people to gain a little bit of a foothold, and they're going to run wild. They're going to run wild because they know that the majority of people just blindly follow them, will just blindly follow them. This is how bad people have always got into power. This is how bad people continue to get into power, because they know that the average person is too naive to be skeptical of them. It's very simple. It's really not complicated. So this is a big problem. Like, this is a big problem that if the government can simply declare an emergency and completely suspend all rights, then who's to stop a tyrannical government from getting into power and just ending people's rights? Like, this is another reason why the left is absolutely insane, is that on one hand they think that a World War II German is in power, but on the other hand they support stuff like this. So again, if you think that a little literal World War II German is in power, why would you support this? Why would you support it? Because you're basically saying that all they have to do is declare an emergency and they can start marching people off to concentration camps. Like, how stupid can you possibly be? Now, the reality is that I don't actually think that Trump is they think, or anyone think, or most people at least, think that Trump is a literal World War II German. But if you're going to accuse him of that, then how in the world can you possibly, even if you think that he's like a racist or moderately dislikable, which I think most people that disagree with him would argue, even if you're going to think that, why would you support this stuff? All these crazy lefties in Alberta, like, they think Jason Kenney is the worst thing ever, but yet they support this stuff too. Like, how stupid can you people possibly be? Like, this is the thing that really just, this is why talking about politics and bringing up politics these days, it's such a just dreadful endeavor, in that the average person is so naive and ignorant. It is impossible to overstate how ignorant and naive the average person is. Now, I do think that there's a small percentage of people that are really good. They got their heads on straight. I mean, probably people that watch people like me. Um, but again, the problem being is that like 80-90% of the population do not fall into this group, maybe even 95 to be honest, upwards of 95. The percentage of people that are actually awake and actually know what's going on is scaringly low. But like I say, on the flip side, it doesn't take the majority of people to change public opinion on any subject. It only takes a vocal minority. Like, think of how many people are these radical leftist social justice types. It's maybe what, 1, 2, maybe 5% of people tops. But yet, think of how many of changes, how many changes in society that they have gotten done. Lots of stuff, and because they're so vocal. Now, the reality is that they have the media that will cover for them. They have a lot of politicians that will cover for them. Social media is biased in their favor. So again, they have a pretty clear advantage. But again, the point I'm trying to make is that they're a very small percentage of people, and yet they still got a lot of stuff done. So the whole point here being is that it doesn't take the majority of people to change public sentiment on any specific issue. It really doesn't. And getting back to the main point here to kind of sum it up is that the point basically sums it up very clear, is that if you allow the government to break the law and to violate people's rights during an emergency, then who's to stop them from doing it whenever they want to? The argument that the average person would come up with is, oh, I don't think people are that bad. But yet on the flip side, like I say, they think that at the very least, a racist is president right now, and what, 75 million people voted for them? On one hand, oh, I don't think that many people are that bad, but on the other hand, 75 million people voted for a horrible racist, right? Like, again, they make no sense whatsoever. Either way, they are wrong. No matter how you want to spin it, they are wrong. And this is the thing that really just bothers me about this situation so wrong, is that you have these people that are just that stupid. People are just so stupid, it's not even funny. And the big problem is that there's no way to get through to these people. Like, there's no way to get through to them. And that's the biggest problem facing society, at least when it comes to these issues, is that most people, their minds are made up, and there's no possible way you can change their minds. I mean, you take the lockdowns, for example. There could not be less of a correlation between lockdowns and a reduction in cases and a reduction in deaths, but yet look at how many people still support them. Look at how many people still support the mask mandates, even though there is no data that shows that they work. And by that I mean real world data. But yet the vast majority, not the vast majority, but I mean the vast majority still go along with them. It just really it is a very interesting aspect of human psychology. I think it is a very interesting aspect of human psychology. So um, anyway, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms. If you want to donate, you can do that as well. Again, I appreciate whatever support I can get, but like I say, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more.